There's a lot of bitches in the world of video games, and today I would like to count down the top 10 biggest examples in the industry. These are the top 10 biggest bitches in video games. To start off with a personal favorite of mine, Fado from Ocarina of Time. Now, I would love for this girl to be higher up on the list, but unfortunately, unlike a lot of other examples, we don't know very much about the character, what she's actually like, what she does, and her entire character is shrouded in mystery, but the implications are horrific. Out of all the Kokiri, or rather, out of essentially every friendly NPC in the game, even the Gerudo, for some inexplicable reason, Fado comes off as the most antagonistic. She seems to have some kind of vendetta against people from outside the forest. She seems to revel in the fact that people go into the forest and then die. She laughs at the idea that you yourself, Link, the hero of time, might succumb to the Lost Woods. And if Majora's Mask Deep Lore videos are any indication, she might be 100% right. I find the character really interesting, and I really wish we know more about her, but it's one of those situations where we'll never really know what was going through her mind when she said those words. Oh yeah. The instant you clicked on that video, you knew that Gruntilda would be on the list. And for a lot of really good reasons. She's malicious, she petties, she targets pretty girls just because they look better than her. And, above everything else, she is a disgusting human being. You can find her sister all throughout her lair, who will give you lots of randomly generated facts about Gruntilda. And you need to know these things to get through the game. But considering these are randomly generated, considering you will be playing this game over and over and over again because it's so good and memorable, you will start to realize that all of these randomly generated facts have to be canon. Gruntilda is the most disgusting bitch in video game history. Considering the current state of the Resident Evil franchise and all of the remakes and all the retcons and the fact that we still really don't know a whole lot about her, it's really easy to kind of pretend that Ada Wong is a really good friend of Leon's, that they have this really close relationship and they're going to end up married and they're going to have a bunch of babies. Not gonna happen. They've been doing this cat and mouse thing for over 25 years at this point. Both of their games have been remade now. Their relationship dynamic has completely changed. We have no idea what Ada was intended to be in the original release. Like, we don't know what she's up to in 4. We never will know because Capcom sucks at long-term storytelling. But when you really take into account what happens Resident Evil 2, what happens? Ada Wong lies to Leon about looking for her boyfriend, and they go on this adventure through this zombie-infested city, and then eventually it's revealed that Ada Wong is not her real name, and that she's a Chinese agent trying to do something, but has developed some kind of attachment to Leon, and so at the end of the game, it's not clear whether she lives or dies. And then for some inexplicable reason in 4, Leon seems to know that she still exists, right? It's like, huh? Again, Leon puts it really well at the end of the game, where he describes her as someone he can't let go, right? Ada is someone that Leon cannot get over. And the fact that she still leads him on, the fact that she's there for him throughout the greatest game of all time, Resident Evil 4, only to backstab him at the last moment, only to, save him at the last moment, keeping her motives completely ambiguous forever. It's so frustrating to see this happen over and over and over again. At this point, Leon should just end up with Claire. You know that chick who's only your friend because she thinks she can get something out of you? Yeah, that's Marina. The reason she's so attached to Pearl, the reason why they're so close, the reason why she's in a band and doing her thing, it's because she became obsessed with the idea of living on the surface and abandoning her shithole life in the underground with her best friend Oct, right? She abandoned Oct to try and become the next Squid Sister, and failed because Marina is the worst idol in the entire trilogy so far. Like, Marina sucks. The way she worships Pearl, hoping to make herself look better. The way she like secretly kind of looks down on her and keeps making all these like malicious remarks while like pretending she's the greatest friend ever. The way she abandons Oct, her childhood friend. It is appalling behavior. Appalling. And it is so annoying that people don't call this out for what it is. That Marina is the most mean-spirited Octo in the history of the franchise. Shiver is way better. Anyone who played No More Heroes 1 will be able to tell you that Bad Girl is a bitch. But for those of us who have played No More Heroes 3 and seen what happens, how, when her dad dies, she goes into such a depressive spiral, she spends the entire game in her room watching anime that Travis Touchdown recommends to her. What a bitch. Vivien is a man who acts like a girl in a desperate attempt to get his sisters to like him. Right? This dude has spent the past 1,000 years working under Beldum, focusing on her machinations for world domination to bring back the Shadow Queen, and doesn't seem to know anything about it. He doesn't know about the Shadow Palace. He doesn't seem to know that the X-Naught Palace, their base, is on the moon, in spite of being there several times. He doesn't know about the teleportal, apparently. Like, Vivien, on top of being a femboy, is also a complete fucking retard. Vivien sucks. You can tell just by looking at Edward from Final Fantasy IV that he's a bitch. It's not often that you can tell that about someone just by looking at character concept art, but Edward is a rare example of that being featured prominently. And after my recent playthrough of Final Fantasy IV, in which, I was exposed to Edward for once again after a long period of not playing the game, and seeing like just how worthless he is in combat, his bitch-made plot line, how like his kingdom was destroyed because of his actions, because he wasn't able to defend his love, Anna, and above all else, the fact that he runs away when his HP is too low. He runs away in a turn-based RPG. Automatically. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop it. If Edward is at low HP, he runs away. The little girl has more balls than he does. Oh, you're talking about a Star Fox character. I suppose you must be talking about Slippy Toad, the one that everyone hates, the legendary failure from Team Star Fox. Well, no. Because Slippy is actually in good Star Fox games. Krystal, on the other hand, has been in nothing but bad ones. It says a lot about Star Fox Zero that one of the things that really makes it great is that it doesn't have Krystal. Adventures, Assault, and Command were all terrible because of Krystal's involvement. Now, even in Adventures, you can kind of see that this bitch was completely off the rails, because she only meets Fox at the end, right? And already she's talking down to him, and she's being overly aggressive and bitchy, and Fox seems to be the kind of person that goes along with it. To the point by the time Assault runs around, like, people like Tricky, longtime friends of both of them, are talking about them getting married. But by Command, which takes place a year after Assault, Krystal has straight up left Fox. She dumped him for the literal big black cat. Star Fox Command might be the most beta male soy-filled bitch Nintendo game ever put out, because the entire plot revolves around Krystal and her obsession with joining Star Wolf so she can get more of that, like, panther cock. Like, it is appalling just how awful Krystal is in this game, where she does this weird thing where she tries to justify Andross's actions and tries to accuse General Pepper of being some acting outside of the best interests of the system, and like undermines Fox at every opportunity. And really, you play this game and you get this sense that the characters shouldn't act like this. You know, Fox shouldn't be simping for this bitch. And I'm glad we're at the point now where we can safely disregard Star Fox Command as canon, because this was absolutely embarrassing. Franziska von Karma is the absolute worst prosecutor in Ace Attorney history. She can't handle witnesses, her arguments fall apart with the flimsiest of objections, and she is weirdly obsessed with her younger brother Miles. I'm sorry, her little brother Miles, despite being older than her. She's obnoxious, she's condescending, she's kind of hot, but at the end of the day, she is a bitch all throughout the game. And at the very end of Justice for All, you're rewarded with her crying like a bitch. Okay, before we get to number one, I want to take a moment to tell you that I am being completely 100% serious. You know, I'm not trolling, I'm not exaggerating, I'm not making this up. I genuinely looked through my entire collection of games, you know, thought about it, you know, looked at all the subjects I had picked out, you know, ranked them accordingly, you know, I know what I'm saying. And I seriously considered putting other Fire Emblem characters on this list, you know, because there are like dozens and dozens of examples of characters that people don't like and are kind of rude or obnoxious or disliked or hated. I cannot think of a single Fire Emblem character that has had more of an impact on the franchise than this one that is as terrible. When she's not busy being Fire Emblem Jesus or grooming little boys, Micaiah is the protagonist of Fire Emblem X, someone who somehow got overshadowed by Ike in her own game. Micaiah is the textbook example of everything I hate about female Fire Emblem characters. She is portrayed as being overly perfect, flawless, able to predict, literally able to see the future, right? All of her abilities are broken in the story, but she's useless in game, right? She is awful, even from like a gameplay perspective. But when you really look at her background and how she acts in the story, and especially what she did to Soth, you realize that Micaiah is one of the most disgusting, manipulative people ever. Right? When you really look at what Soth was doing in Path of Radiance, where the entire continent is in war, and Micaiah abandoned him to be on his own, and he's desperately trying to find her, and he describes her as like the only person in his life that matters, and then you play Fire Emblem 10, and then you see what Micaiah's like, and you see how she pulled this little boy off the street, treated him like a little brother, raised him, and then had him be her bodyguard as she took over Dane, and then the world, like, and then saved the world from the goddess, and then, after all that is done, married him. That's right! Micaiah groomed a little boy. And considering the context and like some of the lines of dialogue they have together, it's pretty clear that she's been planning to do this for a while. Like, she's a groomer, a literal pedophile. She's into Shota, and she's supposed to be the protagonist. Take a look at this image. Keep in mind, she goes on to marry Soth after this. Keep in mind, she took him off the street and groomed him for that. She is a gaslighter. She is manipulative. She is using Soth for her own selfish ends. And she can't acknowledge her mistakes. She can't admit that she's wrong. Like, she can't admit she's wrong about Ike or admit that she loses a fight to Ike. There's a scene in Fire Emblem Engage in which she claims that, like, she battled Ike and like, implies that she didn't get, like, utterly demolished. Like, Micaiah is awful, and that needs to be acknowledged more.